Hey there. If this was your reaction when you found out that Tingyun is still alive,
He's alive! He's alive! He's alive! He's alive!
then you are most likely going to be pulling for Fugue no matter what, and you're just here for the vibes. However, for those of you who are still undecided, let's dive into Fugue's beta kit. Her overall skills, playstyle, potential issues, her compatibility with certain characters, and why she is so great for break teams. Overall, is she worth pulling? Fugue is a break center support who seems to have taken good qualities from both Harmony MC and Ranmei. Starting with her basic attacks, just like everyone else, Fugue has a single target attack. She also has an enhanced basic attack, which is a small AoE attack. This enhanced basic is only available to her after using her skill. Speaking of her skill, it will give one of her ally Foxian Prayer. This is just a fancy way of saying that whoever Tingyun 2.0 uses her skill on, they will get a set of buffs. An ally with Foxian Prayer will receive an increase in break effects, and it allows their attack to reduce enemy toughness regardless of weakness types. For example, if Boothill has Foxian Prayer, then he can reduce an enemy's toughness without having to implant physical weakness. And finally, when an ally unit with Foxian Prayer attacks, Fugue will also reduce the enemy's defense by 16% for 2 turns. And yes, this counts as a debuff. Fugue's ult is a standard AoE attack that ignores weakness type. Next up is her talent. While she's on the field, any allies that attack weakness broken enemies will deal super break damage. This is basically a 100% uptime version of Harmony MC's ultimate. Enemies will also get an additional toughness bar, which is equal to 40% of the original toughness bar. When this secondary toughness bar gets reduced to 0, the enemies will take an additional super break damage. Now for her 3 main traces. Trace number 1 will delay the action of weakness broken enemies. This is very similar to Ranmei's ultimate. Trace number 2 gives Fugue a permanent boost to her break effect and regenerates 1 SP after using her skill for the first time. And finally, trace number 3. When enemy is weakness broken, allies, excluding herself, will receive a boost to the break effect by X%. This percent is further increased if Tingyun's own break effect is greater than a certain threshold. This is pretty nice since super break damage scales off of break effect. With all of that said, what does all of this really mean for her playstyle? Long story short, Tingyun 2.0 is like that flex tape commercial for your break teams. A standard break team usually consists of a main DPS, double support in Harmony MC plus Ranmei, and a sustain. Fugue is that tape that can fill in the void in case you ever need to use your Ranmei or Harmony MC on other teams. Do keep in mind that she is not a perfect 1-for-1 replacement for any of these characters. Let's just briefly touch upon each one of them because I'll go more in detail in the character compatibility section of this video. As a Harmony MC replacement, Fugue gives an identical super break mechanic to the entire team. Her super break has a 100% uptime unless she gets Fantilia again. As a Ranmei replacement, Fugue has a much weaker built-in action delay. In addition, losing Ranmei means losing a whole bunch of useful buffs that Fugue can't really replicate. But she does have a fair share of buffs, it's just that they're not team-wide. It is also possible to replace her sustain and follow the path of the best defense is a good offense. A team consisting of Fugue, Ranmei, Harmony MC, and Firefly should be fast enough to break any and all enemies. The most basic explanation of how this can work is as follows. Fugue uses her skill on Harmony MC to make the Trailblazer a colorless breaker. What this means is that Harmony MC with Foxian Prayer can now use their skill to reduce all enemies' toughness regardless of their weakness types. And just for fun, Fugue can also function as a catalyst to run a team comp known as. In this scenario, Ling Shi will be promoted as a main break damage dealer. This is only possible because of Fugue's skill, which makes one of her allies into a colorless breaker. Finally, as for her gameplay, she's as easy as a 4-star variant. Simply follow the same mantra: use her skill, use her ult, rinse, repeat, victory. Are there any major issues and red flags? Short answer, yes. Long answer, it's more of a rich getting richer situation. A break playstyle may have 3 damage dealers, but realistically, they're practically using the same roster of characters. This means the team members are usually the same across the teams, so it's hard to crack into the rotation. This isn't to say that Fugue is underwhelming, it's more the fact that break teams don't really need more help. This is like when KD joined the Warriors. It's a super team. Ron May, Harmony MC, Lingsha, and Fugue. They are all fantastic break support characters. The issue here is that we have to pick 3 out of the 4, leaving one of them to basically ride the bench. Of course, this isn't much of an issue if you have a usage for the one that gets left behind. Say you open up Lingsha to run her on follow-up and tag teams. Maybe you open up Ron May to run her on a dot team. Or you open up Fugue to run her on Boot Hill's team, allowing you to essentially run 2 break teams on both sides. Let's talk about a few team comps and the compatibility with those team comps. Starting with Firefly, 0 sustain. When I say Firefly needs her emotional support raccoon, what I really mean is that Firefly needs that super break. The entire game plan of a Firefly team is to weakness break the enemies and then have Firefly go ham on those enemies with her insane speed. This way, she can proc super breaks. And you know what's better than 1 super break? How about 3 super breaks? You thought I was gonna say 2, but let's not forget that Firefly has her own built-in super break as well. Anyways, Fugue has 100% uptime on her super break mechanic. This sounds amazing on paper, but in reality, it isn't that hard to keep Harmony MC's super break online. So this team is an all-you-can-eat super break team. Her skill gives Foxy and Prayer to one ally, effectively making that ally a colorless breaker. This is extremely effective in AoE situations where Firefly can't hit every enemy on the field, so Harmony MC can now help reduce enemies' toughness. Don't forget that Fugue still defense shred whichever enemy the ally with Foxy and Prayer attacks. With Harmony MC's skill being AoE, this means the defense shred is going to be on every single enemy on the field. Also, there's Ron May, the stat boost engine of this team. I'm just going to power through some of the stuff Ron May gives to her entire team. Damage increase, weakness efficiency increase, speed increase, resist pen, enemy action delay, break effect increase. I think you get the point. Remember how Firefly is going to have her own super break, and then Harmony MC super break, and then on top of that, Fugue super break? Well, here is the super break damage equation. Super break damage scales off with break effect. Ron May increases break effect. Fugue also increases break effect. Now, here's what we're losing by taking out Lingsha and running 0 sustain. Number 1, sustain. Duh. The game plan is to usually blitz the enemies by weakness breaking them before their turns and delay their actions with the combination of Ron May plus Fugue. This might not always go according to plan, so any damage that this team sustains is going to be permanent. Number 2, no more DPS Lingsha. Lingsha on Firefly's team is a healer with a gun. She does a respectable amount of damage only to weakness broken enemies. Fugue isn't going to be able to fully replicate the same damage output herself. She can, however, somewhat make up for it with the rest of her kit. First of all, her 100% uptime super break mechanic helps by improving the damage output of everyone on the team. The same can be said about her talent, which provides a secondary toughness bar. And not to mention the defense trait on her skill also adds a little bit of damage as well. And finally, whatever break effect that Fugue can give is going to slightly increase the damage of any super break instances. Now, let's talk more about team comps with a sustain. Who is Fugue replacing? The most common answer to that question is likely going to be Harmony MC. There are a few reasons as to why. First of all, looking at all those team-wide buffs that Ron May is dishing out, it's not something that Fugue can easily replicate, especially the team-wide part. Harmony MC's kit is much closer for Fugue to fill in. Harmony MC has a team super break mechanic, so does Fugue. Second, Harmony MC being an imaginary type means that there are situations where their skill doesn't do anything if the enemies are not weak to imaginary. They just end up using their skill and it just tickles the enemies. Fugue, on the other hand, has a skill that is much more useful for Boot Hill and Rappa. Since Boot Hill doesn't have a weakness implant without his ult, and Rappa doesn't even have a weakness implant, by making Boot Hill and Rappa a colorless breaker from the start, it is bypassing the limit that they initially have. Both of them needed some time to ramp up, but now they can weakness break enemies much faster thanks to Fugue. Harmony MC just can't do that. Moving on, the question of the day. Is Fugue worth pulling? In my opinion, Fugue gives a nice flexibility in building break teams. As a character, she is worth pulling for, but we need to take context into consideration. Harmony MC, Ron May, and Lingsha are already solid break support characters, so getting Fugue is more of like a luxury. You have to ask yourself this question: does your break team actually need more help? The answer to that question should hopefully answer if you truly need Fugue or not. Well, need is one thing. Want is another situation altogether. I want Fugue, and I'm getting her. She opens up more ways to play around with my existing break characters. I can go sustainless Firefly. I can go Queen Lingsha with 3 supports. I can even run 2 break teams on different sides of MOC. Fugue just opens up more flexibility in team building for my account. However, that may not be the case for your account. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Okay,